A new work about the life-shattering effects of mental illness opens tonight at the Edinburgh Festival. In a play entitled Mad, trained actors perform alongside people who've suffered mental disorders, creating a series of powerful improvisations based on often painful personal experiences. Mad completes a trilogy of radical works by the director Jeremy Weller, who in previous Fringe productions brought the experiences of homeless people and teenage delinquents to the Edinburgh stage. Our arts correspondent Fiona Murch opens her coverage of this year's festival by examining the culmination of a 3-year theatrical journey for one of Britain's most radical stage directors.
The venue might appear to be a classical theatre. The work to be performed here is anything but. Once again, the Grassmarket Project is trying to redraw the boundaries of theatre. This year, asking individuals to relive their experiences of being mad on stage. As in the past, when the work has involved down-and-outs and young offenders, it's exposed the director to accusations of exploitation and voyeurism.
Why is it? Why can't I do it? Why is it so hard to even wash myself?
The power lies in the truth of the emotion, the fact that these are not scripted lines, but improvisation drawn from personal experience. Even the play's structure mirrors reality. The plot features a director's attempts to cast a play about madness. In the process, he listens to passionate memories of mental illness.
God, if you're up there, I need you now more than ever.
Normally when you go to the theatre, you actually look at the characters, and even if there's been a fantastic performance, the skill of the actors is the main seduction point. In this, the people that have seen other rehearsals, they've said that when they go away, they really think about the characters, they really feel about the characters because they know they're real. So there isn't this suspension of disbelief, and there isn't the suspension with that of emotional interest and emotional empathy. You actually care, you begin to think and really care.
And then I start abusing myself, lots of food and drink.
The question is why those involved want to expose themselves in this way. For Naomi Seekings, a trained actress who had a nervous breakdown, it's a desire to destroy the taboo about discussing mental illness.
Initially, in the rehearsals, for the first time when you were doing it, it was very painful, and seeing other people's stories as well. You think you could start numbing to it, but it doesn't. Every time it hits you just as much, and but it's like a healing process. Yes, it is. It's very painful to live through it again. You don't want to do this, but it's like it's very healing as well because it's getting out exactly what you want to say.
The thing that drives her into the darkness, she fears the dark, and yet she's attracted to it, a sort of natural curiosity. It's not self-confidence, but a simulation of an earlier feeling.
Dorothy Rankin uses a slideshow to exercise the childhood trauma which led to her breakdown. She's not a trained actress, but brings her knowledge of time spent in a mental institution to the production. Although she insists the process is not harmful, it's clear that in performance she holds nothing back.
Sometimes I think the rehearsals feel that they're going out of control, but only to the extent that people are being very honest and are not sort of being inhibited by ideas of how people should be behaving. But I never feel danger from that. It's merely that people are being brutally frank about how they feel about each other, how they felt about their lives, and how they feel about themselves.
As with his previous productions, Glad, working with the homeless, and Bad, with young offenders, Jeremy Weller is quick to distance himself from any suggestion that he's involved in some kind of social work.
It happens that social workers are in a similar area to me, but I'm using theatre to look at these things. When things fall apart, life loses its structure in madness, in homelessness, when a young offender starts his life as a young offender. So I have to look into these areas to see what happens to life, what's lost, what replaces it.
Do you know what it's like not to feel anything anymore? Do you know what it's like not to be moved by anything because I shut it all off?
But it's a process of analysis that supporters of the Grassmarket Project believe to be beneficial, despite the lesson of last year's venture, when some of those involved in bad later returned to crime and imprisonment.
I think these performances might be as therapeutic for the audience as they are for the participants. What Jeremy's done is to take the lid off the down and outs, the criminals and neurotics, and allowed us to have a look into these worlds, and particularly with the production of Mad, where he allows the participants to speak for themselves. And I think it's up to us as audiences to make honest connections with what they're saying and not to be too squeamish and judgmental.
We'll just start again.
The director's judgment is that the team is tough enough to be disciplined rather than coaxed.
And that means 100% energy, nothing less. And that means everyone does everything. It doesn't matter if you say you can't do a scene or you're not feeling like it, you just have to do it. Okay? Because otherwise we won't have a show, basically.
Weller insists he has minimised the risks of any of the cast suffering a relapse.
All of the people that I'm convinced I have on the stage are people who have had experiences and are now out of those experiences. But no one is completely out of anything. If you've lost someone in your life, you never get over things entirely. So there's always a fragment present. And that's probably, or potentially, where the power comes from,
So
when it strings together.
So would you feel guilty, personally guilty, if somebody regressed?
Yes, I would, but if I saw that happening, I think I would remove them from the project, one, but I would also, I would think twice about putting the play on.
There's no doubt Jeremy Weller has achieved his aim of generating excitement in theatre. There's an unpredictability about the action which often erupts into shocking violence. Critics might say the audience's sense of unease is based on fears that the actors are being exploited. Supporters argue that is a concern based on a stereotyping of madness, stereotyping that the play seeks to destroy.
Underneath all this little shitey word mad, it's all about love. Extreme love, lack of love, what people have done for love. And I'd like to actually know if you have felt as much as that. Because if you are going to do a play about madness, you have got to feel this is a play about feelings, okay? It's not about ideas. You can do this play without ideas. It's about love.